So, there's this Creole story that my grandma used to tell me about. And in that story, there were three characters in there. The story basically teaches you a little bit about morals. Well, what's interesting about that story is that it may seem quite simple at first, but actually it has like everyday characters in it that most everybody can recognize. These characters in people they know, or heard about, read about, or seen. And the story in itself is kind of a allegory. It gives you some idea of kind of a moral platitude or moral dilemmas that people find themselves, or types of characters that people find themselves, and what happens to them when the extreme of those characters take over. But anyway, my idea for this story or these videos is take something from the Creole culture and expand on it. So I thought today I'd bring you about a Creole story. Now, the Creole story, like I said, has the three characters in it, and these three characters are Guangel, or in Creole, Guangel means big mouth in English. So the first character in that Creole story would be Guangel, or in English, big mouth. The second character would be Patfin, or skinny legs. So that would be the name of the second character in this Creole story, Patfin, or skinny legs. And the third character would be Gros Boudin, or Gros Boudin, which means big belly or fat belly in Creole. So the three characters are Gros Boudin, Patfin, and finally Guangel. So Guangel, Patfin, and Gros Boudin are the three characters in this Creole story that my grandma used to tell me about. So the three friends, Gros Boudin, Patfin, and Guangel, decided that they were going to go on a night out. So they're on this night out, and they're, out to give trouble. And then, while hanging out, they decided to observe other people's business. Not just observe, get into other people's business if they could. So they're all out. Three comrades, Gros Boudin, Patfin, and Guangel, big belly, skinny legs, and big mouth. Sounds like a group of gangsters, doesn't it? Well, they get an offer that they can't refuse. All you can eat and drink for free. Yeah, all you can eat and drink for free. The offer might sound too good to be true. And for a group of troublemakers and mobsters out at about to give it to set up some trouble or looking for some trouble, well, the offer might seem too good to be true. But they're on a night out, and Gros Boudin, Patfin, and Guangel, it's a party. What are we gonna do? We're gonna eat as much as we can. We're gonna take on the offer, and of course, have a great time. So Gros Boudin dug in. He's greedy, so he's gonna eat it all. He's not gonna wait. He's just gonna jump in at it. Well, the story goes, Gros Boudin saw so much food, and being such a greedy man, in a very short space of time. And on that night out, Gros Boudin belly exploded. Yep, he ate so much that his guts, his belly exploded. So Big Mouth, Guangel, on seeing Gros Boudin's belly explode, Guangel started to laugh. He laughed so hard that his mouth split open. Yeah, Guajel's mouth split open when he began to laugh at Gobude's eating so much food that his belly exploded. So Pat Finn, on noticing that Guajel was laughing so hard that his mouth split, he was laughing so hard at Gobude that after Gobude had eaten so much food that his Gobude's belly exploded, and Guajel was laughing so hard that his mouth split open, Pat Finn decided to run and get some help from their friends. On his way of running out, both of Pat Finn's leg, or Finn leg, as his nickname is, Finn Legs, Finn Legs decided he was going to run and get some help. So both of his legs got broken. So in the story, these three men were out on a night out. Gobude ate so much food, or Big Belly ate so much food that his belly exploded. Guajel, or Big Mouth, looked at his friend, saw that his belly has exploded from eating too much food, and he started to laugh, and his mouth split. Seeing his mouth split open, Pat Finn decided to run and get some help from his friends, see what he could do to help his mates. Both of his legs got broken because Skinny Legs was running to get some help. Both of his legs got broken. So there you have it. This is the story of three friends on a night out. My grandmother used to tell me about this story. Gobude, Big Belly, Pat Finn, Skinny Legs, and Guajel, Big Mouth. So there you have it, the story about Guajel, Pat Finn, and Gobude on a night out. One of them ate so much food that his belly burst open. The other one started to laugh at his friend that his mouth split open. And the final one decided to run and get some help, and both of his legs got broken. So this is the story of Gobude, Pat Finn, and Guajel, an allegory in Creole that my grandmother used to tell me. So what do you think this message means? This allegory about the three different men. So I believe this allegory, or this story about Gobude, Big Belly, Guajel, Big Mouth, and Pat Finn, Skinny Legs, is about three different types of characters. They're not necessarily about people or human beings, but just characters. So Gobude is gluttony. He's greedy. He wants everything, right? And then you have Guajel. Guajel is a gossiper. He tells stories. He lies. His mouth is loud and wide. And then you have Pat Finn, or Skinny Legs. Skinny Legs is the guy who skedaddles, or he steps to people. His feet's always moving. He's shifty, right? Or he's the first guy to run away, but yet he's the first guy to walk people into trouble. So his Skinny Legs is shifty. He moves, and that's the three type of people. It's the flaws. It's the character in the people. So then you have those three men being described as doing something, which is eating too much food, or being so greedy that he wanted so much to his own detriment. The other one was, his mouth was so loud, so wide, that he laughed. In other words, you can't wait to talk, can't wait to tell people's business, can't wait to spread gossip, tell lies, or spread rumors, or find a way to use your words to harm and destroy people. But this allegory, he started to laugh. He found it so funny and so interesting. He laughed so much that his mouth split open. And finally, you have the person who's the stepper, the runner, the hider, or the person that can't wait to get things flowing, getting out there, whether it's true or not. It's like the Skinny Legs, like that skinny cowboy who's the first to step into the fight, ready to draw his guns and get the whole crew into the fight to get shot or killed, or the first guy who's the Skinny Legs, who's the snitch who runs away when the trouble starts to come. So Skinny Legs is running, he's on his way, he's probably not sure where he's going, and both of his legs get broken. So there you have the allegory or the Creole story told to me by my grandma of three different characters. Three characters on a night out. And then this is what happened. Gros Boudin ate so much food that his belly exploded. Guangel was a sneaky friend, not a good friend, the type that would literally bite you in the back. But he started to laugh at his friend so much that his mouth split open. And so he's hurt on the floor. That's what happens. Guangel is laughing at Gros Boudin and his mouth splits open. After seeing this, Patfin decides to run out. Now he's running out. Where he's going, nobody knows. So Patfin is gone. He gets out of this in such a hurry that both of his legs gets broken. So there you have it. Gros Boudin, Guangel, and Patfin. So we're going to use this story about these three characters. Skinny legs, big belly, and big mouth to represent greed, gossiping, or first to get into a fight till easy to run out, gets other people into the fight, into trouble, shifty, moving around, and then the gossiper, the loudmouth, pomp and circumstances, telling stories. So we're going to use this story about Gros Boudin, Patfin, and Guangel to represent three symbols, because these symbols represent greed, gossip, or loudmouth, and also not a good friend who would laugh at you, or when you're times of trouble, a wide mouth, non-caring friend. So the three symbols that we're going to use to represent the three characters are the crown, the coin, and the cross. Once again, the cross, the coin, and the crown. Or the spread of Christian Greco-Roman religion, but not only that, but also the spread of its counterbalance, Islam, or coming from the age of the Crusades, and how that dynamic, that political dynamic, shaped the Western culture or the Western world, which is considered called a Western Christian culture. We will use the effect of the money, which now the powerful country in the world is the United States of America, so the US dollar. And we will also look at the crown, which we will use the Commonwealth, which has been in the news, to represent that. And all those three aptly represents one of the other characters, or all of them, in the story about skinny legs, greedy, big belly, and wide mouth. So Gros Boudin, Patfin, and Guangel. Gros Boudin, big belly, Patfin, skinny legs, and Guangel, wide mouth. And then we have the crown, the coin, and the cross. So to wrap up, we had this story about these three characters which exemplified some of the bad characters that you could find. And then we used three symbols in recent modern history: the crown, the cross, and the coin, to represent money, politics, and culture. Like the crown, money, the coin; the crown, power, political power; and the cross, culture and cultural influence. So we are living in a time when there's numerous global events. Some of them can be considered to be crises, or we're living through times which can be considered to be maybe epochs. You have, for example, what some may deem the climate change or climate crisis. Others might say that there's absolutely no such thing as a climate crisis. But for argument's sake, let's say that the planet is a living, breathing, or something that is alive, and it has an allergic reaction to some seafood, or it is having some problems with its fever, digestive system, but something is causing it to heave and Shiva, and therefore it's going through manifesting as heat waves and floods and hurricanes and earthquakes and all kinds of symptoms, which is showing that maybe the planet is going through some changes. Whether some would call it a crisis or not, this is what the type of times that we're living in. This is what's going on. Secondly, you can see that we're living in a time where there is a lot of geopolitical changes. You have just recently, like I said, the remnants of monarchy, or Britannia ruled the British monarchy, as a new king has been crowned, and one of the oldest living queens had passed away. And that is signaling, or in real time, we're living under a change from one era, a bygone era of royalty and royal rule, of almost ruling 3/4 of the planet, when Britain was ruling the world and had large countries like India under its thumb, and many parts of Africa and the Philippines, out in the east as well. And so there's a big change going on that we've experienced in real time, as you see changes in that epoch from one to the other. And then you have the monetary changes that are going on as well. Like I said, you have cryptocurrency, you have something called de-dollarization. You also have the rise of China. You may see whether it is a different Buddhism, Shintoism, Taoism, but that represents a huge culture, an old ancient culture, China. And they're now coming into their own, being a juggernaut on the economic stage, or the global economic stage. So you would say maybe during the time of colonization, which Britain represents, and the Catholic Church, through Spain and Portugal, and Catholicism and the spread through colonization and the spread of Christianity from the Western Europe out into the New World, and now you have South America and Africa, and even to the effect that you have the idea of Islam spreading through Northern Africa, or leaving Yemen, parts of Yemen, Saudi Arabia, going all the way up into Turkey, Syria, spreading back down and even into the Iberian Peninsula over a few 700 years, almost 1,000 years plus, 1,000+ years of the spread. So then you have, now we're living in a real time where you're seeing another cultural group, I would consider, like the Asians, the Chinese in particular, rising, which is not part of the cross, or the Christian, or the Islamic, or the crescent. But this gives you an idea of real-time changes going on as the rise of China, a group of people, ancient culture, ancient people. You have in the Sahel region recently, with lots of coups going on in Niger, Guinea-Bissau, you have Gabon, you have remnants of upheavals of the French colonizing and colonization going on in French Africa. Big changes are going on right now, and we're living through that in real time. You also have, very likely, that there will be a change in the leader of the Roman Catholic Church within the next few years, as the pontiff who's in charge right now is probably, or likely, to signal some changes because of health reasons and so forth. So if you have to consider what is going on a global, political, cultural, and economical level, you will see there's lots of things going on. They say that the empire, the hegemonic empire, which is the United States of America, which took over global dominance from Britain after World War II, is now experiencing many upheavals, which you can see internally, which is visible through the January 6th and coup, and the upheavals and riots and protests that occurred during the summer of 2019 for African American rights. You have this issue of about the slogan Black Lives Matter, which reverberated around the world with people looking at Leopold and what they did with the scramble of Africa. You have reparations both coming from the African Americans in the United States, calls for that, and also from the Caribbean for their part in colonization and the Golden Triangle slave trade. You have on the African continent, countries starting to question Europe and its colonization and its scramble for Africa, and the cleavages and things that were done from the east to the west, to the north to the south. So we're living in real time of lots of changes on an epoch basis that we are experiencing. So when we consider having a look at global politics or international development and globalization, this is not a time for timid responses. This is a time for human beings to be active in whether letting their voices be heard or possibly just doing simple things at home like recycling and trying to make your money count. Saving seeds, for example. I do that. You never know, maybe you might get into a bunker because you have a stash of seeds. But yes, we are living in very interesting times, and you can see things are happening all around you, from the political upheavals, the natural occurrence of nature, changes and upheavals, economic changes, and even cultural movements and changes. So we'll see you around for the next one.